You hear me?
Yeah.
For some reason, it came to my phone instead of my computer. I'm not sure why. Do you have like a link that I could join, or
Yeah.
you could just ping it to me? I don't know why it's on my phone. All right, I'll be right there. Thanks.
How's it going, Ricky?
Oh, not too bad. How about you?
Oh, trying to get this latest updates wrapped up, but it's been going pretty good. Surprisingly well. All right, let's see. You can see me and hear me okay?
Yep, it's fine.
Okay, good.
We have Ryan twice now.
All good.
Hey, Ryan, you can hear me?
Yep, I'm good to go.
All right, good, because we are live, so thanks for joining, and for everyone who's watching, appreciate you taking the time. So, guys, what I want to do is I just want to kind of recap what we're looking to cover in this new update, essentially update number 2. And we'll just kind of go over the background on what this is essentially going to accomplish. And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to step through the code first, just to kind of give everybody an opportunity to see and understand what it's doing, how it functions. And then lastly, I'd like to just do a demonstration to show you it working. And then, of course, you know, you can ask questions and all that good stuff. So sound good to you guys?
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
All right, good. All right, so, and Ricky, feel free to chime in or correct me if I'm wrong, but basically one of the possible needs for American Express, right? So for Amex, we talked about providing Tag No More as an option for the brand, and one of the possible needs would be to essentially tailor Tag No More so that it only provides live engage back to particular visitors on the site. So, you know, in the sense that it may not be the entire website that we want to target. There was some discussion that we had with the PMs to kind of vet out whether or not we can do it, and certainly we can. So the goal here is just essentially tailor or customize Tag No More to allow us to focus or target certain visitors, right? And so the two use cases that this update will essentially cover is targeting only mobile visitors, and it will also target certain section of the brand's website. So so what I'll do is I'll go into the code and kind of talk about how we achieve that, but ultimately I just want to make sure that everybody understands what this T0M update or Tag No More update will essentially achieve, and that's giving any of our brands or any of the customers that we choose to turn Tag No More on for the ability to target uniquely mobile visitors however they need to see fit, and also we can separate it out by only targeting certain sections of the site. Now, we could even expand this to piggyback off of like variables that are set on the page, but for the purposes of American Express, we're just essentially targeting a line of business to a certain section of the site. So that's why we're using more or less a URL pattern for that. Does that sound pretty accurate to you, Ricky?
Yep, that's right.
All right, good stuff. All right, so let me see if I can share my old screen, and let's look at the code. All right, let me know if you guys can see it. I should be sharing Notepad++.
Good to go.
All right, good. Let me increase the the size here just so it's easier to see, because I know it's actually kind of small on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Let's do Control-Num+. All right, so guys, can you read that a little bit better, I hope?
Yep, good to see it.
All right. maybe let's not get too crazy here. All right, so I'm not going to go into some of the old stuff, or at least the previous code that we've talked about on the first Tag No More Updates, but certainly I'm going to point out everything that I've added or what's new. So for those that have not watched the first Tag No More Update video, please be sure to look at it. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. So I'm going to start at the top. So in order to essentially achieve this use case for these two new functions, these two new features, we need a way to identify or isolate, for example, mobile visitors, as well as we need to be able to focus on the existing URL, or the URL of the website that they're on. So the way that we do this with the Tag No More logic is we're going to essentially use ASP's built-in server variables. So what I've done is I've created two new variables. One's for, and it's just Tag No More UAS, or user agent string. And the Tag No More user agent string is going to basically hold the internal user agent string of the visitor. So like whatever type of agent string the browser sends back to ASP, will get it with the server variable HTTP user agent. So again, that's just built in to ASP. And that's going to be the way in which that will identify what the current agent string of the visitor is. And the second one, for the purposes of identifying and targeting a section of the site, will be the refer, or what I refer, or basically what I've set up a TOM, or Tag No More refer variable as. And again, we're just using built-in request.server variables, and it's actually retrieved through the HTTP refer value. So those are essentially the two new variables. And guys, if I not making any sense or you have questions, just feel free to stop me. So as you can see, just like we get the current legacy number off of the query string for their site, we're doing the exact same thing with ASP for the user agent string and the HTTP refer. As you can see, I'm also cleaning those, even though it's not off the query string. I went ahead and just did it for, I guess, simple security and consistency. So it's not necessary, but I wanted to try and be consistent with ensuring there's no bad characters, which there shouldn't be. So that's that. Okay, so that basically takes care of the two new variables. And again, very simple. Just we get the two new variables that we need from ASP's server variables. The next thing we do is we jump into our main function, or our essentially our two main functions that execute the Tag No More logic. And that's, again, just to initialize and check to see if they're a match for Tag No More. We'll go ahead and we need to look at the initial TOM function, but since we, and again, you may or may not remember, but from last time we had a few cookies that we were checking to see if they were previously set because they were previously in the session a Tag No More customer. Well, because we're adding some additional match conditions, we want to go ahead and check for each time. So I basically took that if statement out. If you recall, you may not. It's no big deal if you don't. But just know we're going to essentially initialize and check the conditions, if you will, for Tag No More each time. So a little bit more clean on that front. All right, so the clean function I'll skip. You guys saw that last time. I'll just go ahead and skip that. So I added a little comment in here just because what we're doing is we're adding to each one of the unique customer sites or each one of our brands accounts. We have one for each and every one and stored in TOM list or Tag No More list. So what we're doing is we're going to add two new parameters, and those two new parameters is essentially what we're going to use to determine whether or not they match for a mobile visitor or they match for a URL. And I'll scroll down here to the bottom because I've added, Ricky, the new account for American Express, as well as the new Live Engage account number that was created. But as you guys remember from before, and this is just on line 17, just I wanted to kind of spell it out here, but basically the Tag No More list now is going to have possibly 5 elements, okay? So just like before, the first 3 elements are the exact same. It's the first one is the legacy account number, the second one is the Live Engage account number, and then the third element is, again, whether or not we want to turn Tag No More on for that account. All right, so the 4th and 5th parameter that we're going to now add in for each and every one, because we want this to be flexible, right? We want, we want certain brands to be able to use a certain type of regular expression for mobile matching or for site matching, and that's why we're doing it here in the initialize Tag No More list. But after that third option, or that third ID in the list, we're going to essentially add 2 new, I guess, placeholders for an optional regex. And so the 4th one is this mobile regex that can be put after the third one, true or false. And then the last one is where we'll go ahead and add the regex for the site. So if you come down here to the new item in the list for American Express, you can see I went ahead and added essentially this regular expression pattern, right? Because what you're going to be adding in here for the purposes of Tag No More is just a regular expression pattern. So you can get as funky and crazy with it as you want, as long as ASP regex supports it, like look-aheads, etc. But for the purposes of just basic, regular expressions go, you're going to do nothing more than add in a regular expression pattern as either for the 4th element or the 5th element. And please keep in mind that you need to put the regular expression for matching mobile in the 4th element of the ID, and you need to make sure that you're putting in the URL regular expression in the last or the 5th element, right? So it's very important because the way that the logic is written is expecting it in that order, and that's kind of why I put this comment up here, just to make sure everyone understands you need to put the right regular expression in the right place. All right, so let's talk about the mobile regular expression before we jump into the Tag No More code for check Tom. American Express and Ricky, we've confirmed that we use the taglet or the plugin for the mobile detection browser plugin for identifying mobile visitors on the account, right? And basically, if you've ever looked at the source code from what John Beadle has shown, which is very well done, I might add, what we're doing is, because we can't use that plugin, we have to do this within the Tom No More logic itself. We're basically following or copying the exact same regular expression matches that the mobile detection plugin is using. So we're checking for Android. We're checking to see if there's mobile in the user agent string, or BlackBerry, or the playbook BlackBerry, an iPhone, an iPod, an iPad, whether it's Kindle or pre-Kindle Silk, IE Mobile, Opera Mini or mobile, or even the new Microsoft IE 10 version of the touchpad. So this is exactly a mirror or a copy of what the mobile detection plugin uses right now. So I'm basically using the exact same regular expression qualifiers to check for all the same versions that we currently do. So if you really wanted to, for example, in your own test account, Ricky or whoever, you can just add in any personal version of the mobile regex that you want to be able to use to target that account. So it's completely flexible in the sense that you can use any and all different variations because it's a regular expression. All right, does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, and so that's in the 4th element, and then right after that, of course, we have to separate it by the comma. So right after that, you can put in another optional parameter for any kind of URL, right? It's just got to be a URL. As it's a regular expression, you can put multiple URLs in there if you needed to. But for the purposes of this use case, American Express simply wanted to target Tag No More for mobile visitors, as well as we wanted to start with a certain particular section of the site. And so if you have both the fourth and the fifth element in your Tag No More list set with a regular expression pattern, essentially what you're saying is that you want it to be essentially targeting a mobile type of visitor as well as a certain section of the site. So that's essentially what we went with for the initial use case for American Express. We're going to target just the same type of all mobile visitors as the mobile detection plugin uses, and we also want to target the open or the current section of the site on American Express for the small business credit cards, or I guess they call it open, right? So now this gives us the ability to do that, and so let's go ahead and jump into the actual Tag No More function, the check Tom function that allows us to do this. All right, it's the exact same for loop as we did before, and we're basically splitting it on the commas as before, right? Except we have to add in some additional if statements or just some additional logic to check to see, is there anything in the fourth and fifth element now, right? Because they are optional. If they're not, then no worry. It doesn't need to check it. But for purposes of checking each and every additional Tag No More account, if there's anything in the fourth and fifth element of the array, we're adding these, I guess, if, else if, else if, else if. So if and 3 else if clause right here highlighted. So nothing is changed except lines 56 through 73. So all I've done is I've gone ahead and first and foremost, as before, just to reiterate, we check to see if the Tag No More ID, the first element, sub-0, matches the T0M, which is, again, the site off the query string, and is that true-false flag set in the third element, or T0M ID sub-2, right? So that stays the exact same thing. Here's where we now check to see if these two new elements in each of the unique list elements have any values in it. So what I did is I basically first started off to see, does the fourth and fifth element have not contain a blank? I mean, does it have something in it? Because you know, American Express wants to target both mobile and certain section of the website, we're going to check to see if the fourth element and fifth element is not blank. Okay, great. So that's the first case. If that matches, which of course for American Express it will, we now check to see, do our regular expressions match for each of those two regular expression elements. So the way that we do it is we just call a match function, which I'll cover here in just a minute. But all we're doing is we're passing essentially the source information, meaning what was on the user agent string that we collected. And then we also send the actual pattern, which is the fourth element, or T0M ID sub-3, in this line up here. So essentially that's everything right here that I've highlighted would be what's in T0M ID sub-3. And we're sending these two elements over to the match function. And basically the if statements is just checking to see if it's true or not. Because the way I set up the match function, which I'll go ahead and talk about now, is nothing more than a way to receive a source data as well as the regular expression pattern, and it returns back whether or not it's true or false, meaning did it match that regular expression value that we sent it, right? And so that's what we're just simply doing to see whether or not, for the sake of this logic here, did the mobile user agent string, or T0M UAS, match what was in Amex's line, and did the HTTP refer, remember T0M ref, match what was in the last or the fifth element, which is this American Express, URL here. And if both of those conditions return back true, because it's an and, right? what we're doing is we're just calling set T0M now, which is nothing more than setting our tag no more cookies for the number and the site, which I'll jump down to in a sec. But before we do that, I just went ahead and set a cookie just for, and this does absolutely nothing in the code other than for debug purposes. I just went ahead for testing to make sure this matches. I mean, I could have done a console log statement, but I thought it'd be fine just to put in a cookie to see whether or not it matched all the conditions. So again, I just created a tag no more match key value for the sake of just determining that it matched all conditions, or the 2 right now that's in the list. And if it's true, then we want to, we can look at it in the browser. But otherwise, it just calls set tag no more, and it passes the number and the site. And just for for refactoring and for making this very simple, I just put it all in here because it's reused in these other if else statements, right? So that basically takes care of the condition where both the mobile regex as well as the URL regex is needed to be matched. So that should take care of American Express needs. But I also added 3 other if statements, or I should say else if statements. Because what if we want to just match mobile and we don't care about a certain section of the site? Well, that's where I basically added, check to see if the 4th element is not blank and the 5th element for the refer is blank. Then we just care to match, the user agent string. So that that takes care of for mobile. And then again, another else if statement would be on the inverse of that. Is the mobile ID blank, and is the URL part of it not blank? Then I just want to check and see now, did it match the refer that we got in? And again, if it does, it calls set T0M. Otherwise, this is where we essentially do our normal tag no more setting for the account ID, for the legacy account number with the new site ID. And again, I'm just putting in another else if just for safety precautions, because I want to make sure that there's no mobile regex in the 4th element and there's no URL regex pattern in the 5th element. Does that make sense? I want to make sure you understand that.
Yep, makes perfect sense to me.
Okay, so it's just a culmination of these 4 if-else if clauses, right? And that's it, because what we want to do is we want to give the opportunity to go through the entire list, and if it's on and it has either one or other, either one or both, we want to be able to be a little bit flexible in the sense that we want to match for certain conditions. So right now we just have the 2. So again, if you wanted to, you could put in one regular expression pattern for mobile, or you could put in something here for URL. So it's completely flexible. Okay, so with that being said, just to reiterate, we use this match function just to return back to our main logic and check tag no more whether or not it matched. And again, it's just a regular expression pattern. I set the global to true so that it matches the entire string. And of course, we want to be case insensitive. So that's what these lines are. I just want to point that out in case it's not apparent. And then nothing different from execute T0M. It does the exact same thing as before. So, that's it. So, I mean, I tried to make it as simple as possible, but at least robust enough to give us the flexibility for each and every tag no more customer to kind of get a little bit granular on which section of the site we want to maybe target, or which mobile visitors or mobile string we want to target as well. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at it and go through a demo now. So let me bring over my little test page. Can you guys see my test page now?
Yep, that's good.
Okay, so for those that are aware, I'm sure everyone who's watching this probably has seen this, and I'll just clear this out. So here we have, in our list, just for fun, for checking different accounts on the team, as well as down here at the bottom, we have we have a few brands that we've been testing for Zumba Lazy Boy, but I went ahead and added Amex here, Ricky. So, you know, the goal, again, the use case here is if Amex has a mobile visitor and is on the open or the small business credit card section of the site, we want to tag no more or inject LE tag back onto the page for them. So we can essentially, you know, achieve that test here, and I'll show you that in just a second. But as you can see, it works just fine as before, right? In the code, I mean, I'm not doing anything special for my account. See, mine's the first one in the list. It's on, so as you can see, it's there, it's working, right? So let's go ahead and switch over to Amex. So right now, the way that we have the Amex tag no more list configured, it's with the two elements for both mobile and a URL, right? So in order for us to send back tag no more, or essentially inject live engage tag back to the site, we needed to match any one of the, or at least you know, pretty much most mobile type of devices, as well as be on the website where the referring URL has at least amex.com/us/small-business/credit cards in it. So let's go ahead and use the emulator, which is nice for us to test with. So if I basically turn on the emulator here, right, we can pick, you know, a certain device to emulate. I'll just pick Playbook because it's at the top of the list. So I'll go ahead and zoom in. But as you notice, once we start emulating, let's say, a BlackBerry, and if I refresh, so let's just go ahead and just do a normal refresh, you'll see that tag no more is not available. It's not serving up live engage back to the page. And again, if you wanted to look, you could look at the cookies, because remember I put those cookies in there just to see if they matched any part of the logic here. But ultimately, all in all, once we actually simulate a mobile browser or a mobile visitor in the browser, and that we also simulate, or at least get the referring URL to match that, we should see tag no more actually show up for American Express. So because this is obviously on my local test page, you know, it's not on the American Express side, I'll just go ahead and simulate the URL being in the query string. So it shouldn't be no big deal. I'll just use the query string here. So once I add that to the query string, and I'll just go ahead and refresh, we should now meet both the conditions, and we should get LE tag to return back basically the, you know, the button on the site, right? So let's just double check and make sure that it shows up. So let me switch over to, I need to switch over to Amex. Okay, so now we're on the Amex dropdown, and we're on BlackBerry, and now let's go ahead and add the URL string, and let's see that it should come back. Okay. So if it works, it should show up. So we'll go ahead and look at our cookies. All right. So it looks like tag no more matched for all. So it should have matched both. So according to our cookie that we added for debugging, it's there. So what I need to do is I need to zoom out a little bit. Just, I think you need to say fit it to window to see the actual button, which is kind of down there. Sorry, it's really small. Let me see if I can fit it to window, or even close this down. I don't know, guys. Oh, that might be a little bit easier. So guys, so basically, because we matched one of the mobile devices, like BlackBerry, obviously, and the American Express U.S. small business credit card URL was in the referring string, or the referring URL, we're now getting tag no more back to the page, right? So that's what we wanted to achieve there. And again, if we let's just take the emulation off, and let me just shut that off, and then do a refresh. So we should see that go away. Even though we've got URL on there as the right URL to match, we're not going to get tag no more, obviously, because we want it to be only mobile visitors, and vice versa. If I went ahead and I put, let's say, BlackBerry back on, but I took, you know, this off the refer, and did a refresh, we won't see the actual Live Engage button, right? So again, it has to match both for this use case, right? And then if we want to go ahead and put it back, we should see it show up. And refresh, and it should show. There it is. All right, so Ricky, I think that's what Aaron and Chris want, right? There's nothing that I'm missing here as far as that goes.
No, it looks really good, actually.
Okay, so again, I do want to show one more thing real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say for the purposes of just we don't have to do both. We can just we can only visit only target mobile visitors. So if I wanted just to basically target let's say a BlackBerry playbook on my account, again you just need to put that into the fourth element, save it, and then I'll even take this off just to show you. If I go back to my account, we should see tag no more not show up, right? Because it doesn't match the criteria that we just added playbook. So now if I go ahead and toggle emulation and refresh, because I want to only target customers that are on a BlackBerry playbook, as you can see, it works. So again, this allows us or gives us the functionality for two new customizations. Regular expressions for mobile and regular expressions for URLs. All right. Any questions, comments, or anything along those lines?
No, it looks really good. I think this will kind of meet the use case that we had envisioned for Amex. Do you happen to know, slightly unrelated, but do you happen to know if you go through Tom, will taglets get loaded?
They don't. They won't. And that's kind of why we created our own version of like the mobile detection plugin taglet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what we're doing is we're intercepting, obviously being on the legacy code base, they're not going to get taglets because we're intercepting it before taglets would even come into the picture. So that's why we're basically creating our own version of tag no more, because we're essentially trying to intercept before it even gets to that point.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know like if once the LE tag gets injected, if the LE tag would download any taglets.
No.
No. Okay.
No, this is basically all pre-downloading of anything along those lines. So it's just going to return LE tag back to the page for their account number, their new account number, and nothing else. So
okay.
So that's what it's going to do.
All right, but yeah, I mean, this looks really good.
All right, good. I'll send it out to everyone, and certainly look for everyone to get some more feedback. So I appreciate it, and thanks for joining, and we'll talk soon. So thanks again, Ricky.
All right, thank you, Jay.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.